Welcome to another episode of Distory. My name is Kirk from Walrus Carpet. With me, as always, is the illustrious, the overachieving, and super brainiac of all things Disney nerd history, Kate, the Disney Cicerone. Kate, extended intro. How are we doing today?
I am so good. Skipper Kirk, I am having a great time doing this research, and I'm very excited for this episode because we are going to go through the history of the Jungle Cruise script. I was going to say the history of Jungle Cruise jokes, but it's not all jokes, so it's the history of the script.
Boring. And 1950s, what a snore fest. But it makes sense. It makes sense. Yeah. We'll get into it.
Yeah, and I love, so we'll actually get to see where some of these jokes originated and like how they evolved throughout time in the script, which is really fun too. And so I found scripts ironically, from every decade except for the current script. So the current script, you know a lot of the jokes, I know a lot of the jokes, and I pulled some from cruises that I've been on. So we have the current jokes. It's just like I don't have the official script for that.
Yeah, I feel like I could recreate a lot of them, and they're all at least I can do the Walt Disney World version. Probably 70%, I would say. I feel pretty confident in.
Yeah, I have complete faith in you. So,
well, that makes one of us.
Well, okay. So before we dive into like actually reading the scripts, so. Little background for everybody. Because I found scripts from every decade, I sent Kirk this like 43-page document.
Hang on. Can I show this? I'm going to show this document real quick. Let me enhance. Sure. Let me flip the camera. Like, look at this thing. First of all, it starts up here. It's by decade. So 1950, 1960, 1917, 1980, 1990, and current. And by the way, they're also color coded. So yeah, and then you just go through 44 pages of documentation. Meanwhile, as we're starting, Kate sends me a nice text. Hey, did you notice the note on the current one that yeah, I did. I actually went through all of this, surprisingly.
Oh, I had to highlight a few because I'm like, there's so many. I'm going to get lost in the weeds here.
Put it this way. We cannot just read this entire thing. And that's why you should go to DisneyCicerone.com, where this will be a blog post. Just look up Jungle Cruise Skipper Scripts Distory. And I'm sure Kate will have that up.
Yeah, probably within a week. I am busy packing, getting ready to go on.
This is evergreen, Kate. We're pretending this exists in perpetuity. You should just, it's already up there, kids, if you need it.
So before we dive in, I was like, okay, how do we approach this, Kirk? And I was like, because I want to tell the jokes and you want to tell the jokes, but we can't tell 43 pages worth of jokes. So I said, what if we do like, at least the 50s and the 60s are really legitimately like a script. It's scripted. It's not like they got to kind of pick and choose what they wanted. And it's pretty straightforward. So those ones we might read you like all of this. We're going to go section by section in the ride, like scene by scene. And so we might read you all of the early ones, and then the later ones we'll just like pick some of the jokes from those different eras to give you some examples of what they had, and they have changed over time. So, but before we jump into that, I feel like we need to visit the SOP. You have Yeah. It's like springing this on Kirk.
I was like, oh God, what did I not study for? This is always like, I don't know if you guys feel this way, but this is how I feel. Every single week is like this amazing, awesome experience that sometimes I'm like, oh gosh, I hope I know enough to be relevant.
Oh, you do. You do your research most of the time. You're great. So that we have from the 1970s, we have a document that is the Jungle Cruise Skipper SOP, or Standard Operating Procedures, if you're not familiar with that term. And there's a lot of really fun things in here. We've even used them on a previous episode. I can't remember which one of this in this Jungle Cruise series that we're in, talking about some of the things that they what they do when the ride stops and things like that. We've talked about that. I think it was when we did boats construction.
Yeah.
I can remember.
Yep. And I believe both of us, we are huge proponents of this website, so I just want to give them full credit. DisneyDocs.net is a amazing resource for all things when it comes to like anything that's an original source document. It's a great source for primary sources.
Yeah, it's all just like high quality scans of original documents. So that's how you know they're accurate. Mm-hmm. So in this SOP, I thought it would be kind of interesting to just mention a few of the things they point out to skippers, kind of instructing them on how to do things, how to deliver their spiels. So it's not just the jokes themselves, but how do you deliver it? Now, remember, this is the 1970s, so this is kind of like midway throughout the history here. I have a couple ones. One that says, as you become more experienced, you may wish to incorporate more humor and entertainment into your cruise. It's absolutely vital that you feel at home with your narration. A natural delivery is a must with our skippers. So they want you to be natural. It says, you must realize that you are not by yourself the whole show. The script you have learned has been painstakingly designed to help you maintain your part properly and consistently to avoid scene stealing that may well detract from the total adventure. And so I love that they're like reminding skippers that you are not the show.
Yeah.
You are part of the show.
Mm-hmm. Which I will be honest, I feel like that's not necessarily the case anymore.
I think it's shifted a little bit more since the 70s. But it's true that they are not the entire show, because there is, there's all the stuff that we're looking at, and there is, people do expect a certain amount of consistency with each cruise, So if you go on and they don't tell any of the jokes that you're used to, you're like, oh, okay, that was different,
Yeah. Disappointing when, you know what, I'm going to be honest, here's something that happens quite frequently. There's a lot of skippers who go way off script now. Like way off script.
Yeah,
and
I've seen that.
I'm okay with like a 10 to 15%. And it's okay if like you're like using the first couple of your boats to like work on a couple of things. It's like kind of how a comedian comes up with material. And I've in fact watched cast members, skippers sitting on the docks like after they've loaded and they've corralled, waiting for the next boat to pull in, like talking shop and working jokes. So I've physically listened to them workshopping different scenes. So it's interesting to see that behind the scenes, but it's on stage. And then seeing them like bomb jokes because they're just trying to see how to make it fit or work.
Yeah. Yeah, and I've been on a couple cruises where it's like it was clear that they were maybe trying out some new material or something, and like it just felt awkward because I was like, this didn't feel right. So I think they really have to strike that balance of, kind of making it their own versus kind of going on the script. And it does say, it says, you may vary your cruises to fit your audience, but lines must be approved by the Adventureland supervisor before being used. And so they can supplement the script, but they can't scene steal from the Jungle Cruise. That's kind of in the SOP. So they can adjust it and kind of try to make it, their own, but they can't completely change it. So to speak, or at least in the 70s, they couldn't. I'm pretty sure that there's still benchmarks they have to meet these days as well, from everything that I've seen. And then I have what?
I just got to the page of guest safety and it just says guest accident. And the first thing is just this big old remain calm.
Underlined.
It's like the least calming thing ever is just a giant thing that says remain calm.
They should have made it bright red, like flashing lights.
Yeah, I don't know if that would have helped.
I have one that's about stopping on the river, which I thought was kind of interesting. Because it says, give the situation frankly but tactfully. It was just kind of, but then these quotes, this have made me laugh. One says, try not to bore them or totally destroy our image, but don't con them either. You want them to relax and accept the situation and maybe enjoy it. And then this one, I looked at Elliot and I said, this can't be real. This can't be real. Because it says, ask questions, get interested in them. It's surprising some of their dismal little lives aren't so dismal after all. The byproduct, of course, is that they can get interested in each other instead of just being strangers stuck together. But I was like, their dismal little lives, that's really in like an SOP.
Oh, where are you from? Oh, Chicago? That's where I'm from. Awesome. Oh, where are you from? Oh, Portland. Yep, that's where I'm from. Where are you from? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. Hang on, this is a good one. Property damage. In case of property damage, such as wet or torn clothing, torn hose, like meaning pantyhose, wet hair, cameras or purses dropped in water, direct the guest to City Hall in uppercase. Do not promise reimbursement for damaged clothing or property.
Because, people did. And that's why they had to include it.
I'm sure people were we'll take care of it. Don't worry about your hose. We got plenty of hose.
That was my $6,000 handbag.
Oh, goodness gracious. Could you imagine? I mean, that happens. Cell phone, by the way, just speaking, very, very short tangent. It is very hard to get something back if you lose it, and it's very not welcoming. I went to guest services, and they then handed me a card and just said, you fill this out. I was like, there's an iPad there. Just work me through it, right? No, go do this thing. That's why I didn't do it for like 2 days. Finally filled it out with Mel's help. And then the one thing that's nice is there's good communication if you do lose something. So when I lost my water bottle, they will send you emails every single day saying, we haven't found it. We haven't found it. We really haven't found it. We didn't actually find it. We're not going to find it. So that was like the progression of my emailing.
At least they communicated.
They communicated that they were never going to find it, which I thought was helpful.
They're like, this is not going to happen.
I felt so bad. There was people in front of me that lost cell phones. And I feel like cell phones are probably one of the biggest like tension things. Like it's a water bottle. I'm not losing sleep over it, Speaking of which, bring some extra Disney Cicerone stickers so I can add you to the new and improved water bottle. Ooh, okay. Let me just check out that action. Ooh.
Do you want this one too? Do you want this one?
Yes, I would like both. I want both stickers.
And you need a Distory one too. I'll just give you all, but you can decide which ones you want to put on there.
I'm going to put all of them on here. Look at this. This real estate is open, but it's going fast. Jackie's already on here. She's already gotten the first one. I know.
Here, I'll bring them. 2 days. It'll be in your hands. Okay. Along the same lines of things that have been dropped in the river, I actually have a list from when they drained the Jungle Cruise on May 9th of 1973 and what they found. And this is, of course, before cell phone time, right? So what did they find in 1973 when they drained the river? They found a matched pair of Instamatic cameras, 5 used flash cubes, 2 lens covers for a 35mm camera, 6 combs, a blue filter for a 35mm camera.
Whoa.
3 hose clamps, 1 flashlight, 1 cream server complete with coffee cup.
That was probably Kate having a drink in the 70s.
Assorted pieces of rope, 2 quarters. Rope, 2 quarters, 4 nickels, and 1 Lincoln penny dated 1956.
Oh, dang. That's a lot. I feel like that's like a Tuesday now on the Jungle Cruise. Like that's,
I thought they'd find more money. Was a little surprised.
Yeah, that's weird. Find more coins. Well, the amount of coins that people toss into random water objects, and I'm not meaning like fountains. I mean random water objects.
Whatever water they can find.
Let's
throw money in it.
Throw it. Now, the good thing that it's, at least with Walt Disney World, I'm sure Disneyland is the same. All that money does get donated to local charities, which I think is cool.
Yeah, it does. Mm-hmm. It's such a weird thing, and I'm actually bummed that they have so much coins that they throw in the moat of Disneyland's castle. Is why we don't have swans anymore, because they swallowed the coins and then they would get like lodged in their system, and then they would get really sick. So it's actually there's something about the copper too that like reacted badly with them. It was just a bad situation for the swans. So that's why we don't have swans anymore. Well,
the swans, big fans of Easter hot cross buns, 1 a penny, 2 a penny. Hot cross buns, but they just ate the pennies. They didn't get the actual buns. They should have ate the bread, but
should have stuck with the buns, swans. What are you thinking? Really? So, shall we dive into our 40 million page document?
Please and thank you. Yes. I'm all about it. I have dual tabs open. I've got Jungle Cruise script and I have Jungle Cruise early 50s pictures.
Oh, good. Okay. So let's start with, we'll have to do both, like in the queue and leaving the dock, because I don't have anything for in the queue in the 1950s. So we'll just kind of combine those sections maybe and do in the queue and leaving the dock. So,
but hang on, can I preface this again? Can we preface, like, in the 1950s, remember, we were thinking that Adventureland was going to be the True Life Adventureland. So True Life being that documentary series that was very popular. The big one being African Lion. I'm just building on previous episodes. So if you think about and approach the Jungle Cruise as to be more of an informative, educational experience rather than the fun, slapsticky, hokey conversations and jokes and jabs that we get now, this will make more sense.
Yeah, it absolutely, you think of it kind of like a documentary that you're living. You're like going through on safari to learn about these animals and these plants and this situation. So that's what it was in 1950s. And Kirk, that script actually is a link on the top of that is actually a link to a video from the 1950s. In case
would you like me to press that?
I mean, you're welcome to if you want to, but I'm just letting you know that it's there.
Oh, cool.
So we're going to do 1950s first, and then we'll move through the decades for each scene, just so you can kind of see side by side how that script progressed. And because otherwise, if we do it all at once, it'll be hard to remember the different sections. So 1950s, we have leaving the dock. All they say is, "Welcome aboard, folks. I'm Trader Dan,
so
your skipper and guide." That's all I got. Welcome aboard. I'm so-and-so, your skipper and guide. That's it. So then in the 1960s, leaving the dock, we have, "Welcome aboard the Jungle Cruise. I'll be your skipper and guide down the rivers of adventure. You know, we always turn and take a last good look at the dock and wave goodbye because we may never see it again." Then, Kirk, do you want to do the 70s ones at all? We have a lot for the 70s.
Yeah. Wait. 70s? We're still in the 50s. What am I losing here?
I read the 50s, I read the 60s.
You're doing, I got you. Sorry. I was trying to set up pictures, and also I was trying to open up your video. I don't know what I'm doing, Kate. You can't throw technical things at me in the middle of the show.
It's fine. You have to go to 9:20 or whatever that I marked on there. I marked the time.
Oh, okay.
Next to the link.
I gotcha.
Anyway, why don't while he figures that out, I'm going to talk about in the 1970s script is where we start seeing a lot of line jokes come in. I'm
the
sure
e-tickets parts.
Yeah, there was more. So they had, please have your E coupon ready. That's E as in Euripides. And that's exactly what I'd like you to do. You Euripides tickets out of the ticket book and present them at the turnstile.
I'm sorry, everybody. This is really funny, this script. So I want to steal all these jokes. Or E as in 888 easily excitable elephants eating eggplant early Easter evening.
Let's see. I like the one that says, "I have some good news for the person that just lost $500 in $20 bills folded in half with a rubber band around it. If you are that individual, please come and see me here on tickets. I just found your red rubber band."
You're going to have to edit out just this snidely whiplash laughter. That's going to be ridiculous.
Oh, no, it's just going to be in there. You're just gonna it's part of this. Okay. Do you have another one you want to share?
Yeah. I would remind you that there's no eating, drinking, smoking on the Jungle Cruise boats. The only food that will be allowed will be yourselves. There's only one more exception. You may smoke, but only if you are on fire.
Times have changed since the 1970s, I'll tell you.
This is dramatically different than...
Oh, I like this one. It's time for the jungle exercise. This has been developed for your convenience to relieve the pain of standing in lines. First, stand directly behind the person in front of you, placing your hands on that person's shoulders with your arms bent. Now, extend your arms.
Although, I will say this, I have to make one point. I have to make one point that this is the first time in the 70s is where we're getting a now current day joke that they still use, which is some iteration of, if you enjoy what you're listening to, my name is Skipper Kirk. If you do not, my name is Skipper Kate. Mm-hmm. Which they've been doing that one usually when you're leaving. That's like a closure. Mm-hmm. Like right when you're exiting onto the docks.
Yeah, in the unload area. Mm-hmm. This one is kind of fun too. Folks, those of you with the lettered ticket books, please tear out an e-coupon and have it ready for the turnstile operator. That is E as in elephant, or no, I guess that's L as in elephant, isn't it? E isn't exciting. No, that's X, I guess. How about E as in effort? No, that's F. E as in energy? No, that's N. How about Europe? That's U. Employ? M. Esteem? S. I know. E as in Ethiopia.
This is like when people are like bored, somebody is using these. Like just instead of doing like just an overall announcement, this is just straight up somebody saying these to guests in line.
I'm hearing it clicking behind you. Is that like your cat or what is that?
that clicking behind me would be Melanie emptying our crock pot of corned beef, cabbage, and potatoes.
St. Patrick's Day. No, it's okay. I was just like, is this something we need to edit out? So it's fine. It's fine. Nope. It's funny. I was like, your cat's making a very strange sound.
No, it's not my cat.
Okay, so that is just in the queue. So we're still in the 1970s. And so then we have the loading because that's where we were. And it's interesting because they have in these scripts, a lot of them have like the official lines and then they have supplemental material. So jokes the skippers can then pull from to decide what it is that they want to say. So one of the loading ones says, you folks coming in the rear, please move all the way around the engine and up to the front. To guests in the front. Those of you who are coming in the front, please move to the rear and sit next to the engine. Fill in all the spaces close together and don't leave any room for hungry crocodiles, snakes, spiders, etc. So still like informative, but there's a little tiny bit of a joke in there. And that's something that's really interesting about these scripts is they start off very, very dry in the 50s and 60s. We start seeing some jokes, but there's still a lot of education in it. And then it just kind of evolves to like just jokes and very little education over time.
Yeah. There's so many of these that I wish that they still used. You know, like everyone stay close together. Do exactly what the loaders tell you. They're very temperamental, about 90% temper and 10% mental. And then the other one that I really like is in this jungle, they're talking about like, make sure everybody sits as close together so we can fit as many guests on the boat as possible. And in this jungle weather, remember that the family that sits together sticks together. Which for Florida is very true. Very sticky.
I also see this. This is the first time we see this thing. It's just like a small note. It says, welcome aboard the Leaky Tiki. And we'll see that come back in later scripts as well. But this in the 70s is the first time I think I've really seen it. I think. I got to double check. You have so many noises happening in your home.
that is actually cats now. There's literally a cat on this table. There's another cat over there. Yeah.
Okay, so that's the load area, and we did, and then leaving the dock because we had that one as well. So leaving the dock in the 1970s, we have welcome aboard the what is the name of the boat? I'm drawing a blank. The Kungaloosh Kate. Welcome aboard the Kungaloosh Kate. Unwary travelers, my name is Skipper Kate, and I'll be your skipper and guide down the rivers of adventure. Before we journey too far, let's all turn around and take a last good look at the dock. Wave goodbye to everyone. We may never see them again. Now sounds a very familiar joke, right? Like we've heard that one.
Do you guys have that one as well, right? Because like we get that one all the time.
I think it's a very standard Jungle Cruise joke that it came from quite a long time ago. So, do you want to read one of the supplemental ones there?
I'm trying to find them. Hang on. You read another one. I'm lost in this document.
How many of you?
What page are you on?
Oh no, I don't know. Now I lost it. No, I've got it. I'm not sure. Here. How many of you are taking your first trip on the Jungle Cruise? How many your second? How many the last? So some of that's like not even like funny. It's just kind of asking questions with the guest. And then, welcome aboard. My name is Kate, and I'm going to be your skipper and guide for as far as we can get. That's another one that you'll hear come back later as well. So as far as we can get. So let's jump to the 80s. So we were in the 70s script. So now we're going to the 80s. And this one
I just saw you scroll by me.
Technology. So this is then the load area for the 1980s Jungle Cruise. Watch your step as you enter the boat. If you're entering from the back, come up to the front. If you're in the front, just follow the simple instructions of your simple-minded loader. It's not very nice.
Yeah, there's actually there was one joke from the 70s which talked about don't cross over the center cushions because you'll get jungle warts and you'll look like the loaders. And look how ugly they are. It's like, oh my gosh.
They make fun of them, and they're like big feet and ugly feet. Like they used a lot of like making fun of the skippers early on.
I mean, we still do in the current one. There is still a really good rip on skippers, but I'll wait for that in the current script.
Okay. This one also says, please move in together as close as possible and try to cover up all of the blue seat cushions. There have been extensive scientific studies that have proven that the color blue attracts deadly flying piranha. And then this is like use color of the boat. So
I like this one. What? Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say they did have seat cushions when they had the striped canopies of the boats. They had seat cushions back then. So if you're like, what seat cushions? Is that a joke? No, they did have seat cushions back when they had the striped canopy boats.
Well, here's a seat cushion joke for you. Slide all the way forward now. That's the only way we have of keeping the cushions clean.
I love that one. That one shows up for quite a few years. That one stuck around until they remodeled, I think.
I feel like I've heard this one occasionally. I get paid by the number of the people I take out, not the number of people I bring back.
Yeah.
Don't worry if it's crowded now. There'll be a lot more room on the way back. That's a good one. I don't know why that doesn't get used. Like, dude, if I was a skipper, I would just look at some of these older ones too, and for inspiration, or bring some of these back.
They say, how many of you are on the Jungle Cruise for the first time? Good, so am I. That one now I've heard recently, so that one's carried on through. Mm-hmm. And then, let's get one thing straight. If we start to sink, the captain will be going down with the boat. I'd like you to meet your new captain. What did you say your name was?
Yes, that would be fun for like a kid, because I feel like a kid would be so confused. They'd be like, what?
Yeah, and I love in this 1980s one, too. We have pulling away from the dock. We have welcome aboard the Leaky Tiki. Mm-hmm. Adventure lovers, my name is Kate, and I'll be your captain, unless we run into trouble, in which case your new captain will be taking over. What did you say your name was? So, that's, again, that joke. But
so this is one, I don't like this joke, but it gets told quite a bit. But it's the welcome aboard the world famous Jungle Cruise. My name is Skipper Kirk, and I'm going to be your skipper and guide for the next 5 exciting days and 6 romantic nights. Like, there's always some sort of like length of time joke that I always feel it doesn't have a good punchline. I just feel like it's just like kind of flat. Like nobody believes it. So there's no, like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's not rooted in anything.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's I feel like I heard that one. I think the last Jungle Cruise I was on, I heard that exact same one. So that one's been around for quite some time. So we could read all of these, but we've got a lot to get through. Should we hop to the 90s? Did you find one that was good?
They're all good.
They're all good.
I like this one's funny because it brings all of most guests don't want to get involved. They just want to watch a show and that's it, right? So whether that's like any kind of participation or anything, but there's this one is, now let's everyone turn around and wave goodbye to those people we left behind. Come on, folks, pretend like you're having a good time. It's obvious that guests are like awkward and weird during this. So
That's kind of like when you make people like cheer again, like you can do better than that. I'm like,
oh
that's
God,
the
it's
worst.
the worst. It is the worst. Yeah. Or when they listen, I'm all for the wave. I really am. But there's some days where I'm not feeling the wave, and that effort, like you really need to have a good person who's like pumping it up. If you have somebody who's like, all right, guys, we're going to get the wave together. Are you ready? There's like hesitation. I'm like, this wave will never happen. I will watch this flop, this wave. This is me just sitting in Phantasmic. This is the things that go in my head.
We don't do that at Disneyland. There's no wave. There's like everybody's tired and they're standing on their feet, so we're not waving. We're just
we're all sitting in boards staring at a lagoon, listening to great remixes of songs though. So I'll give it that.
True.
They used to have entertainers, but this is a true story. I used to have entertainers before Phantasmic, but concession sales went down while having these entertainers, so they removed them.
That was interesting.
That's probably a Michael Eisner thing.
Money. Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure. So let's hop to the 1990s script. I actually really love that this is when we start seeing a little bit more of like current events sneak into the script, the official script, which is really interesting. But here we are in the queue. So there's some ones for the queue here. Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? Due to circumstances beyond our control, the Jungle Cruise will be operating for the rest of the evening. Thank you. And then they have the same
updated
one
version.
Yeah, the same one that we had with the roll of bills, and we have found your rubber band. That one actually does show up here as well. So that one carried forward from, that was the 70s, right? No, 60s? I don't know. One of those previous decades. And then, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the world famous Jungle Cruise. Please do not take pictures while you're in the queue. Once again, please do not take pictures while you're in the queue. They are nailed to the walls for a reason.
I was framed.
Oh my gosh. So, and then other jokes. There's this one, this is like a miscellaneous joke, but it may not be queue related. Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Toucan.
Toucan who?
Toucan not fit through the turnstiles at the same time.
Oh, yeah. You got to be one at a time.
Which is also a very Disneyland thing because there's not a lot of turnstiles in Magic Kingdom these days. But they're still in Disneyland, virtually everywhere.
I mean, you know what place has a turnstile before an attraction? Swiss Family Robinson Treehouse. It does. It counts how many people goes on it. I think it's important for them to know that information.
Yep. It was a lot recently, right? Because there's a lot of crowds in the parks.
It was. There was a lot of people. That thing was humming.
Do you have one from that?
I do. It's the one right below that. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to remind you that cutting in line will not be tolerated here at the world-famous Jungle Cruise. That's right. There will be no cutting in line. Anyone caught with scissors will be ejected from the queue.
That just goes a whole other direction.
Yeah, I love that. Because it's like, it's good, but then it's better. You know? Like, it's pertinent, but then it's also funny.
Yeah. So in the 1990s script here, now we're moving on to loading. We have Please listen to the boatloaders. They used to work in a sardine factory until they got canned. They don't mind too much, though. They worked for scale.
Yeah. And that one's great, too, because we see that with Skipper Felix. We had talked about him a little bit last week just because he's in the WDW queue on Alberta's desk is his employment application. And that's one of the things that he worked at was a sardine factory and was canned. So it's kind of cool to see that Kevin Lively rebirthed that into the new updated queue.
Yeah, I love that connection. That's so great. I also have one that's, come on in, folks, slide on down. That's right, slide on down, because the more you slide now, the less I have to clean later, which is sounds familiar from one we just heard, right, of the cleaning the cushions. So they just kind of changed it, because by now, in the 1990s, this is when they have revamped the boats so that they are matching the Indiana Jones ride attraction. So now that we have the brown boats with the more jungle theme to them versus the red and white striped awnings and the cushions. So they had to alter the jokes. So that's where we see that come to play.
When you were reading any of these, are any of the jokes going right over your head? Like
some of them.
There's some that just make me go, I don't know what I'm reading. But that could be like a me reading problem, like a phonics issue.
Well, there's a couple of them that I'm just like, that's just not funny. I'm just like, and then I don't understand the mystery boat one. This must be did you get that one at the bottom? So it says, welcome to the mystery boat. The mystery boat must be a song. The mystery boat, the mystery boat. Welcome to the mystery boat. It's a mystery. It's still afloat. Followed by a little song, which I can't recall. I am blank, Kate, your captain and guide, etc. for your journey. Just remember the month of May, followed by a nerd. I will need a volunteer to help me steer the boat. Someone between the ages of 4 and 7. Like none of that seemed funny to me. I didn't understand any of that. I was like, the mystery boat, like the love boat, like what are we referring to?
That's the only thing, but I don't think it
doesn't match that. So
the mystery boat. Well, it
doesn't fit. It doesn't fit.
Yeah, it's not. There's so many syllables to that.
And then of course we move on. Do you have one for that? I didn't want to.
No, because there's a lot of repeats. We're getting we're honing the script to get some of the better ones. Yeah, I have nothing.
So then leaving the dock in the 1990s, one is welcome aboard the Leaky Tiki. So we see that come back. Adventure lovers, my name is Kate and I'll be your captain unless we run into trouble, in which case your new captain will be taking over. What did you say your name was? Now, of course, we've heard that one. So there's some jokes like this that just were so good that they just kept going or at least they kept them around even if they weren't good. Okay, before we go further, everyone raise your right hand and repeat after me. I hope. We do. Return. Good. Better turn and take one last look at the dock. You may never see it again. I don't know if that's funny, but it's like it's there. So.
I like that one. And that actually, that's a repeat too. They had that in the 80s one as well.
Mm-hmm. And then...
Ooh, the Haunted Mansion one.
Oh, you should read that one.
No. Come on.
Okay, this one is my favorite, I think, for obvious reasons. Your cadaverous pallor betrays an aura of foreboding, almost as though you sense a disquieting metamorphosis. Is this boat actually leaving the dock, or is it your imagination? And consider this dismaying observation. This boat is completely surrounded with water, and I'm your skipper, which offers you this chilling challenge to find a way out. Of course, you could always swim away.
Yeah, I love that. I wish somebody would do that one. Not a single person. I know that's a lot, but it still is good.
Yeah, no, I could do that one without thinking, because it's pretty much the jungle, or it's a haunted mansion.
It's the stretching room right there. I like this one. Where are you from, miss? Just say where you're from, Kate.
Oregon.
Sorry. What?
Oregon.
No, I heard you the first time. I just was sorry.
Ouch. Burn. So they go from like making fun of each other to making fun of the guests. That's the shift we're seeing here. Okay, so then we go to more current day. So that was the 1990s, and then we're going to hop to current day. And we might have to move a little quicker through this, or we're going to be here all night.
There is a lot, and we're not even through the load. Oh, I just saw you catch up.
Okay, so I had one that's please slide all the way together. I get paid for the amount of people I take out, not the number I bring back. So again, one of those kind of standard jokes. And then remember, this is where we talked about in Disneyland how they say, hit it, Skip. Mm-hmm. And then that's how the boat operator knows to go forward. But in Disney World, they don't do that for whatever reason. So we're hoping that they someday adopt it because it's fun. And then they say, come, everyone turn around and wave goodbye because so that you might never see them again. That one's in there. And then the cadaverous pallor one is still on here. And I think I have heard this one in Disneyland. I think I've seen people use it. And then that I'll be your skipper as far as I can get. That one's also there as well.
The one that we get a lot of times in the current one too is, my name is Skipper Kirk. I will be your lion tamer, your monkey wrangler, and if the boat sinks, your swim instructor.
Yeah.
We always get something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's all I have for that one. So should we move back to 1950? Should we jump back?
Back. In time.
Back
you got it.
Back to the future or back to the past in this one?
Back to the past.
So we're going by Disneyland's setup here just because it's very hard. They're so different in Disneyland and Disney World in the way that they move through the attraction, and they have kind of a different setup. So I just set this up for Disneyland's because Disneyland has been around longer and there's more scripts for it. So the next stop that we have is the rainforest. Mm-hmm. So our 1950s dry script says, in this tropical rainforest, those rare orchids grow without soil. Every tree has a corsage.
So formal.
Butterflies out here are gigantic. Look at that wingspan. That's it. That's all there is.
Mm-hmm.
Ta-da!
And then now into the 1960s. Oh gosh, they're all so bad. Like they're just so.
Now remember, so the 1960s now is when we start getting concepts from Mark Davis integrated into the attraction. So we start seeing some more humor, but it's not just straight jokes yet because they're kind of integrating the humor and then not. Oh.
Yeah, they're not exactly
funny. They're not all funny.
No,
it's educational.
Like the dragon blood trees of the area actually bleed red when you cut them. And the ever-fresh orchids need no soil. They get their nourishment from the moisture in the air. But get it?
Yeah.
There's nothing to get.
I was like, what are we getting?
There's nothing. You're getting zero humor.
And yeah, and it says, speaking of moisture, we're passing through a tropical rainforest. We often see exotic birds and huge, colorful butterflies, or a couple of mean-looking crocodiles.
Oh my god! Because like they got teeth. They're like, I get it.
It really is like it's just not. So I think this is what really important to note because this is such a misconception. Is when people say, when did they start adding jokes to the Jungle Cruise? And everybody says it's in the 1960s. And I said, well, yes. They added some jokes in the 1960s, but it wasn't all straight jokes like we know it to be today. So,
nope.
Yeah.
It's not, to me, it's not until the 70s that we start getting really a lot of humor added.
Yes. So let's hop to the 70s. The rainforest. So we still have the dragon's blood trees line that he just read is still in there, and they have the talking about leaving the last outpost of civilization, we enter the Irrawaddy River of Burma, where rare plants and lush vegetation grow in abundance. That was a line that was pretty much in the previous scripts as well, or at least the 1960s script. And
so
then
I like this one as a setup because now you know where the actual joke gets led into. So this is like what we would call in comedy like a setup line, right? So notice these huge butterflies. They attain a wingspan of more than a foot. And that old tree stump, a colored toucan bird. So we're getting the butterfly joke setup line, but there's no punchline or delivery yet. We'll get there.
Yeah. They do say, speaking of moisture, we're passing through a tropical rainforest where it rains 365 days a year. The rest of the time, it's quite sunny, though. So there is a little joke in there.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. And we'll see that one come back several times. I've actually heard something similar to that recently.
Yeah, raining and time period is very typical for around Inspiration Falls for us.
Mm-hmm. All right, to the 1980s script. Now, I will mention that I don't have a full script for the 1980s, so at some point it will stop because I got most of it, but not all of it. So, rainforest for the 1980s says, as we leave the last outpost of civilization, we travel deep into the mouth of the Irrawaddy River of Asia and the tropical rainforest where it rains some 365 days a year. It's like without the joke for some reason, like they nixed the joke.
I like this one. So now we get a joke for the toucans. It's a simple one, but it's a good one. On the old stump there, pointing, are spectacular toucans, some of the most colorful birds in the jungle. And remember, two can do much better than one can.
I love this because we've talked about the carnivorous plants on our previous episode about the Walt Disney World Jungle Cruise queue. This says, now please watch out for those carnivorous vines. Last week, one of them reached into the back of the boat and pulled a woman right out. It was awful. And just before she disappeared, she was feeling just fine.
She's okay. There was an earlier script too where they talk about removing your jewelry because the cannibals don't like indigestion.
Yeah. Yeah, it's actually a little bit graphic, some of the ones with the cannibals. Yeah. So brace yourself because we'll get there. All right, so moving on to 1990s, we into the rain. You know, there's actually these sections with the hornbills. Sorry, I'm going to back up a little bit because we should put that in there because they're about the same area and they're not in every script. And I haven't really heard anybody talk about them recently, but the hornbills were in these early scripts. And this one says, and for all of you serious bird watchers, over there is a hornbill. Looks like he's really gone out on a limb this time. And
now remember, this is the gag where the hornbill is standing on the branch and all the crocodiles are around him, right?
Mm-hmm. If he's not careful, he's going to wind up as a snack for those crocodiles. So this also says, over there is a rare species of hornbill about to become a little more rare.
But I think the crocodiles prefer medium well.
Your jokes are better sometimes.
And that's how jokes get made, kids.
And I see the same ones in the 1990s. They're identical, it looks like, for that section. There's one more that says, and for all you serious bird... Wait, I already said that one. No, I didn't say that one. And for all you serious bird watchers, over there is a serious hornbill in serious trouble. If he's not careful, he's going to wind up a tasty lunch for those crocodiles. Seriously. So they just kind of wordsmithed it a little bit. Mm-hmm. As I've seen with a lot of these, is they just kind of adjust them a little bit. Okay. Now where were we going?
We are into the current one. So here's the rainforest joke being evolved to, we're going to start here in the rainforest where it rains 475 days a year. That's right. Almost every day. You know what's interesting is I get this, in this one, sometimes this bacteria joke, I'll tell it right now, we hear at Schweitzer Falls as well in Walt Disney World. Now we're entering the rainforest. Feel that mist on your face? Kind of cool, kind of nice. It's interesting to note that this mist carries the world's largest array of rare tropical bacteria.
Yep. Ew. I think it's gross.
Yeah. I think that, that joke always missed on our boats, but I don't know.
Oh my gosh. So let's do this next section just for the interest of time. Let's kind of group together like the Cambodian ruins, the temple, like
yeah, there's a lot. If we just did, we need to like group like the next three things.
Yeah, let's group everything before, not the elephant bathing pool, but everything before that.
Everything to rhinos, including African veldt.
Well, that bathing pool's before it.
Elephant later. It says circle of alligators, rhinos, then elephants.
Yeah.
Your
well,
African
there's more later. That's why. So let's do, well, I don't want to get into African veldt yet. Let's do everything up to African veldt.
Okay.
In this next group. So back to the 1950 script, we're going to hop back. We have the Cambodian ruins of our dry 1951. It says, now we're on the mysterious Mekong River of Asia. Over there are the ruins of, over there are the ruins of an ancient Cambodian shrine. All that remains is the golden Buddha and a fortune in jewels. That cobra is caretaker now. Watch out for that big python. Everything is out to meet our boat today.
Yeah.
And scene.
Yeah. Yep.
And then if you remember that those circles, the alligators that kind of like circle around in the water, this is what they have for that.
The guy who was riding them?
Riding this. Steady, folks. Watch those ripples up ahead. Here they come. Quick. Pull in your hands. Now listen to pull in your hands part, because that's part that does get carried forward. So, okay. So that's 1950s. Then 1960s.
Oh, okay. All right. The 60s. Perfect.
Fest. My link's not working. Come on. I designed you for a reason.
The Cambodian ruins. Up ahead is the ruins of the centuries-old Cambodian shrine. It was almost destroyed by a devastating earthquake hundreds of years ago. Only the monkey god remains, guarded by the beady-eyed crocodiles and the giant jungle spider. Now, python-like, is that Banyans grip this great stone face in a living vice.
A living vice. Well, and the crocodiles are right before that too, and it says, "In fact, we are now turning in." Well, they're speaking of the moisture. We're passing through a tropical rainforest. We often see exotic birds and huge, colorful butterflies, or a couple of mean-looking crocodiles, and that sets this up. And it says, "In fact, we're now turning into the crocodile-infested Mekong River of Asia. Well, there's old Smiley, the granddaddy of them all. You'll have to keep your hands in the boat. You see, he's always looking for a handout."
See, that's a that's a good one. And if you actually need to get a hand, you can always go to a secondhand store. And hopefully you won't spend that much because they're pretty thrifty there.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is then when we start having the elephant bathing pool for the first time. So this is where the circling alligators were. And now we have the elephant bathing pool. So we switch over to that. Do you want to read that part, Kirk?
For the elephant bathing pool now? The elephant god Ganesha guards the entrance to the enchanted bathing pool of elephants. The natives of the jungle say that the whole herds of playful Indian elephants migrate here to bathe. Watch out for some wet surprises from those big shots, and the little ones too. They're playful little squirts. I feel like that's fair.
And then it goes into the elephant that kind of like raises up out of the water and like pretends to squirt the boat. It says, as we leave the waters of the frisky elephants, we journey deep into the interior where ferocious wildlife roam. Looks like one of the biggest elephants wanted to bathe all by himself and he doesn't like being disturbed. Hey, he's trying to give us a bath. Oh, that was close. If you're on the rail, you better look out, he might do it again. Oh, well, maybe he figured we didn't need a bath.
Yeah.
It's still a little bit dry. So I'm like, yeah, okay.
If you ever fall out of a boat on a jungle cruise, I will throw you a bar of soap and you can wash up on shore.
Where were you in the 1960s, Kirk?
I don't know, dude.
They needed you.
I've got great ones. Like, let's do this. I'll rewrite this whole thing.
All right. So they also had a scene with rhinos that would kind of like walk through the grass. We've talked about that in the episode we did all about the animals of the Jungle Cruise. This one says, this tall grass means big game country, and we must be on the lookout. Wild animals come down to the river to drink. Oh, there's a family of rhinos, a mama rhino and 2 babies. I think we're frightened the young ones, but not Mama. She's not afraid. She must weigh over 2 tons, and believe me, she knows how to throw her weight around. Ba-dum-tsh.
Boom, boom.
It's like slightly funny. It's like a little. It's like 10 to 20% funny. And the rest
it's like listening to me. 10 to 20%. Okay, hang on, time out. I don't have any of the informational. I have the 10 to 20% funny.
All right, so we're still in the 1960s script, and this is also when they start talking about the plants and the vegetation. So they have, I'll do this, and then maybe you can do Schweitzer Falls,
okay.
The approach of Schweitzer Falls. So there are other wild animals, too, and beautiful vegetation. Giant bamboo trees grow 60 feet high, and some of the bushes in this area grow the berries from which the natives extract the deadly bushman's poison. So.
That's very dangerous.
Yeah.
We're approaching beautiful Schweitzer Falls, named after the famous Dr. Albert. Wait, they actually say
Schweitzer.
Dr. Albert Schweitzer?
Mm-hmm. They don't say falls. See?
After the famous Dr. Albert Schweitzer, who's done so much for the people of Africa, which is true. Mm-hmm. I'll try to get in as close as I can. Oh boy, I didn't think I was going to make it. That was almost too close. Up next is the famous Nile, the longest river in the world.
It's like none of the jokes that we're used to. It's actually a little jarring to read. It's like, oh, they're actually just giving this information.
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird.
And then this is the part where we get to the elephants. So the 2 bull elephants, African elephants on either side. They say, uh-oh, look on that bank, a big bull elephant. The enormous ears and that sloping forehead mark the African bull elephant, one of the most feared animals of the jungle. There's another one. Don't get excited now, big boy. We're just passing through. That's it. And then we'll pause there and hop to the 70s because now that was so off to the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
Good old 70s. So now we're back to the crocodiles on the Asian they call it Asian waters is what they call this area. And it says, oh, ahead on the right, 2 mean-looking crocodiles. We're now moving into crocodile-infested Asian waters. Keep your hands inside there. They're always looking for a handout. Look, there's old Smiley on the left, the granddaddy of them all, over 100 years old.
Yeah. I'm trying to find if there's anything that's slightly changed through here.
They do talk about the archway.
Yeah, they did. That's the only thing.
Ruins.
This, mm-hmm. Yeah, they've kept the monkey god section. They've kept the earthquake section. Through this archway, we enter the sunken ruins of the ancient city. The jungle has now almost totally reclaimed this area. Even the great stone face has been engulfed by python-like banyans.
So that changed it from like the vice banyans to the engulfed by the banyans.
Mm-hmm.
And then the elephant bathing pool is up next. It says this is the elephant god Ganesha. We still have that one. I'm just skimming this to see. Oh, they said whole herds of playful Indian elephants migrate here during the morning. These rites are seldom witnessed by civilized man, which we kind of saw that, but we didn't see the morning piece of it. And then you can always tell the big shot, he's the one in the private shower. So that's a new joke that we still kind of see today. That's when that
mm-hmm.
came in here in the 1970s.
Fun fact, if you don't know, the god Ganesha, I'm remembering my world cultures, was the god of like new beginnings and wisdom and luck, and was used, and has an elephant for a head, but was used in a lot of like wedding ceremonies and new kids and, you know, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. But there's a lot of people who revered him for, you know, remove negativity and bring on positivity and new beginnings. So it looks like I need to pick up and create a shrine for Ganesha for a hot second.
So off to the elephant that squirts water is next. Again, we're in the 70s. These ones are actually a little bit different, but it incorporates what we just heard. So it says, watch out for these little squirts. Sometimes they try to give us a shower. Hey, it looks like one of those larger elephants wanted to bathe all by himself. Oh, and then, oh, look, he's coming up again. Lean in, get back over here. Well, I guess he decided you didn't need a bath after all. There's always like this kind of like he changed his mind kind of dialogue that goes through the script.
And the whole entire time, and we do learn that the skippers you actually can get wet in that one moment. That's an interesting part of, if the skipper isn't paying attention, the timing of the elephant shooting out water is something that can happen to you. In fact, the water at least in the Walt Disney World version, comes from the Reedy Creek, and they dye it to make it that color, but it's not potable water, meaning you can't drink it. So the elephant's noses, the ones that actually could spray water on you, is actually potable water, drinkable water. Yeah. Just in case it gets on guests, you're not actually getting tropical bacteria. Poison, yes. Or poison water.
I mean, that makes me feel better as a guest, knowing that water on the river is not being sprayed on me accidentally. Mm-hmm. Just saying.
Yeah. I wonder how many times it's happened where a skipper was not paying attention and that occurred. I'm sure it's happened a couple of times.
Well, you have to think that's probably why they had to make it that way. Did they make it that way originally, or did they make it that way after guests accidentally?
My clothes are dyed. What is this?
Someone tried to sue. So
don't worry. We'll buy you new clothes. Somebody write that in the SOP. We will not reimburse new clothes. All these things were happening so quickly.
In all caps.
In all caps. It's happened too many times.
Underline it. Okay, so hopping to the 1980s for this section, we have back to the crocodiles. We got it's called Old Smiley, yeah. Mm-hmm. It's on the other side is my favorite jungle resident, Old Smiley, one of the laziest crocs in these parts. I do suggest that you keep your hands inside the boat because Smiley's always looking for a handout. Again, we're just they're just going to milk that handout through all the decades.
It's a good joke though. That's a solid joke, especially if there's good pantomime of the skipper. Yeah. And I think that really nails the delivery of it.
Yeah, they have better delivery than I do. That's for sure.
No. I mean, if I was a skipper, I'd be they're always looking for a handout. If you did, you know what I mean? If you did a good something like that would drive the joke better. Much like you're a skipper driving the boat better.
There's a note here in that says, "Would you mind sticking your hand out as a demonstration?" They're always looking for a handout. Mm-hmm. So, okay. So then the ancient shrine, again, we still get the earthquake. They kind of wordsmith it a little bit because it says that many explorers have tried to steal that priceless ruby, but no one's ever gotten past that poisonous spider. So they kind of play a little bit more. They play that treasure spider thing just in a different way. But this one's fun. So how many of you think that's a spider? Show of hands. How many of you think he's bigger than the one crawling up this man's/woman's leg? You don't believe me? Just last month there was an English teacher on board. She didn't believe me either. Now she's teaching shorthand. So, yeah.
I like that one. I feel like it could use some tweaking, but I think I'm curious.
Well, I feel like the shorthand goes with the crocodile thing more than the spider thing.
Agreed, because you're not thinking that but I like the concept of being a spider is on somebody's leg or whatever. Oh, I did. This is a complete aside, and I'm going to take 4 seconds.
Okay.
I flicked a caterpillar off a stranger's shoulder today.
That is an aside.
I was buying my sampler for Busch Gardens, and there was a big, hairy, nasty caterpillar with black spikies on the woman who was at the register. She had no idea, and this thing was going right for her. And I went, and I said, "I'm so sorry. I apologize. You had a giant, nasty caterpillar on you." And she goes, "Oh my gosh, thank you so much." I was "Totally, I got you." It was the weirdest. It was scary looking. I was worried for her life. I wouldn't do that normally, but that thing looked poisonous.
I've done that with mosquitoes with strangers before, hit them, and then I'm like, sorry. Yeah. I swear it was a mosquito.
You had a bug on you, sir.
All right. back to the 1980s script. So we also get the 3 cobras that get integrated in this time period. They're more brought to the forefront, and they say, "Don't make any sudden moves. These king cobras are the world's largest poisonous snakes, and they go out for a bite every few minutes."
I'm not moving, Kate. I don't want to get bit.
No, you don't like the snakes.
Well, they have, there's many iterations, even in older ones, where they make a joke that there's snakes hanging above you in the actual boat, but it's like the lamest joke ever. I don't get it.
They also say, "Up on the steps, 3 king cobras. There used to be 4 of them. I wonder where the other one is." That one they still use today. I've heard that one a lot, even in modern times. So.
Does anybody look around?
No. Well, maybe. They're the kids. They're the kids look around. They're like... The Bengal tiger also kind of starts making an appearance here. And the Bengal tiger jokes are some of my favorites on the Jungle Cruise. And you guys don't really get this as much. I know you have a tiger inside the temple, inside Disney World, but Disneyland, it's like out in the open. So they make a lot of jokes about that. This one, there's no house cat over there. That's no house cat over there. Bengal tigers can jump over 20 feet. And we must be at least, 19 feet away. That one's not as good as some of the other ones that are coming up. But this is the Bengal tiger over there, weighs about 500 pounds. He's looking right at you. Ma'am, better keep smiling. So
I have only had in my entire time on the Walt Disney World version of the Jungle Cruise a skipper talk in the tunnel once. Every single skipper takes a break. That's like their vocal rest. So they take a moment, they drink their water, you go through. It's just like a little bit of a rest because they're talking the entire time. But I've had one, and he crushed. It was insanely good, and it was just like one of those moments where you're like, I'm never going to see somebody, because it was like uncharted territory. Nobody does tiger, spider, snakes, monkey jokes, and there's so many.
They could pull them from the Disneyland one because they have all those things over there.
Yeah, maybe really he did, and I just thought it was like he was so original, and really he was just doing the Disneyland script.
He's just reading these things that we're reading now.
Which is what our podcast is us just reading scripts that were already written. So, like, this is a very original podcast.
Oh, come on in. We add things to it, like your caterpillar story. Come on now.
Yeah, you wouldn't hear that just reading this.
No.
Or listening to it, or whatever you're doing.
Back to the 1980 script. We're never going to get through this. I'm going to just look for things that are new here. They still talk about the elephant god. They talk about... You're like a
completionist. Like, you and Jackie, I love both of you, but you want to do everything. You can't do everything. Just pick the greatest hits.
This one still talks about the little squirts, and there's a whole herd of elephants coming down to bathe. Don't scare them now. Of course, the big shot gets the private shower, so we already heard that. And then, this is when we start getting the elephants have their trunks on, okay? So look at all the elephants out here today. This comes as a complete surprise to me because I had no idea these guys were going to be here. If you want to take pictures, go right ahead. All the elephants have their trunks on. So that's when we first start seeing this come in, is 1980s.
I love that. It's a great one. I don't know if it hits anymore because nobody calls really swim trunks anymore. I know that I'm dating myself when I'm like, hang on, I got my trunks on. It's like... Yeah. What? And my bathing cap. It'll be fine.
My bathing costume.
I'm not going to lie. If I ever went to a pool with you, I would expect nothing less than a bathing costume from you. With like a full bathing cap. Right. Like with like, it was like a one piece with like shorts and like a t-shirt up at the top with like a brooch, A brooch.
It's like a full length dress.
It's right. I do
have a swim dress, so but it's not quite like Victorian, but just saying.
I know. Of course you do.
Okay. So the squirting elephant of 1980s is almost exactly the same as the previous ones, and I don't see anything except there's one that says "Sir" in the middle. That was very clever, hiding behind that little child. So again, kind of making fun of the guests more than the skippers. They do the plant section where they point out plants.
I like this one. Anybody know the names of those? Anybody? Oh, well. Just gives up, like, as pointing out foliage.
And they also do, this is where they have the one where they point. So it says, since we're in an area filled with rare tropical foliage, I'd like to take a moment to point out some of the plants to you.
It's a great joke. It still crushes. Mm-hmm. As long as they don't say a word afterwards and keep pointing for an extended period of time, it kills every time.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the comedic timing really is what makes that.
It really, yeah. Yeah.
Perfect,
That's another like pantomime. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the plants and then let's see. Oh, so this is where we start seeing the safari outpost come in. So if you wonder what that is, that's where they have the Jeep that's flipped over on its back and they have the gorillas kind of like ransacking the camp. So this one says, a lot of safaris around this area. That could be one up ahead. This one has some uninvited guests. They do have a unique way of washing the dishes, and they point to the water. These gorillas sure did a sloppy job parking that Jeep, but I guess monkeying around comes naturally to them.
Mm-hmm. This one always gets the most alternatives today. Mm-hmm. This scene. I've heard the only thing is like turnover, but it's always different. Yeah.
I've heard the term turnover. I don't see it in this one though.
No.
I see if you're wearing yellow, don't make any noises like a banana. That drives them ape, so that's in the 1980s script. And then they talk about them being a nice bunch, but these guys are really animals, so that's in there. And they just talk about monkeying around, but there's no turnover.
This is so annoying, but on ours, like, I get annoyed when people make monkeying jokes when they're apes. Like, that's such a small thing, but I get so annoyed because there's so many good ape jokes that you could make, and you're choosing something that doesn't have a tail and calling it a monkey, and it's ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the true life adventurer in me.
Kirk's pet peeves.
Oh, it's one of my biggest. And every zoo. Oh, look at the monkeys.
Wow, that's a trigger for you. Now I'm going to exploit that.
Let's just go to deck and you'll see me annoyed the whole time.
Okay, so we'll keep moving on here. We've got the gorillas and a crocodile. It says that's
a good one.
Yeah, there's a croc with a snappy personality. Ha, he's gonna get himself a knuckle sandwich if he isn't careful. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't understand this other one. Did you read this other one?
Yeah, it doesn't. This is another one of those. Like the kids and the condiments one got me. This is another one. Well, you look at that. Some of the camp's food made it downstream, but I don't think it's going to go to waste. It's like, because the crocodile will eat it.
Yeah,
croc will eat it.
Is it a joke? Is it? I don't know. And then approaching Schweitzer Falls. And then, so they have like the skipper who's like distracted by everything that just happened with like the gorilla. And then he's just like, lean in back there. And they just like pretend to like, they're going to go into the falls. That's just part of it. That's it. That's all there is.
But that's good because this is where we get the final, or the start of the Albert Falls joke. So, and now we're approaching beautiful Schweitzer Falls, named after the famous African explorer, Dr. Albert Falls, which is not a funny joke to anyone who is unread about who Albert Schweitzer is, which I feel is most guests have no idea what that is.
And I wonder if that transition between the 70s and the 80s, that would have really because people would have heard it a lot in the 70s if they went to Disneyland often. And then they're like, oh, that's funny because they were expecting them to say Schweitzer.
Maybe for like a couple of years and then it gets lost in translation. Now, this is where a secondary line gets added today, where it's, if you didn't understand that joke, don't worry, we'll go over it later, which is a waterfall joke. Right. Here, why don't you showcase your shirt? Sorry, you're sipping.
That's the wrong time. Yeah, it says the legendary Schweitzer Falls. We'll go over it later, so that implies that joke. And then there's actually a quote from Dr. Albert Schweitzer on the back of the shirt as well, like the actual Albert Schweitzer. But it's a fun little inside joke if you know Jungle Cruise. And then there is a O2H club on the boat. It has a little like, that's the name of the boat, is O2H club. So
yeah, they have meetings periodically.
So I don't see. It says ahead is beautiful Schweitzer Falls, and wheel appears to jam and skipper tries to free himself. Oh no, you folks in the back lead in, duck, woo. So there's like a whole bunch of like, they use that like we're gonna run into the falls a lot in these scripts. And then they have this is when we start seeing the Nile River one as well. We've turned on to the Nile River of Africa, the longest river in the world, winding across more than 4,000 miles, which actually isn't funny. That's just the facts. So I guess that's not new. Sorry.
No, it's okay.
That was literally like not just the dry facts from before.
It would have been better if that wasn't an M and it's across more than 4,000 Niles.
Yeah, that would have been good. And it's actually less than 4,000. It's just under 4,000. So that's not actually accurate.
The fake...
Who knew? They're on vacation.
The fake life of adventures.
Fake life adventures. Untrue.
The
life
untrue,
adventures. Yes. Oh, gosh. So we have the bull elephants. This one, they start start bringing women into it. So it says on the left bank, there's a huge bull elephant, the large sloping forehead, enormous ears, mark the African bull in the jungle. On the other, the most feared animal in the jungle, his wife.
I mean, are you with me, fellas?
There's unfortunately a lot of these kinds of jokes in here.
But they still do. I've heard the mother-in-law joke.
Oh, yeah.
Still occasionally. That still comes in.
They don't do that one here in the 80s, the mother-in-law. It looks like they just do the wife. I mean, they could have started adding it, kind of ad-libbing it. Mm-hmm. And then I think that's the same jokes we said, the second most feared animal. Oh, okay, so that's the new one. Up on the elephant's bank, we have an African bush elephant. These enormous ears and great tusks distinguish them from the Indian elephants we saw earlier. Second most feared animal on the left bank, the enormous ears and huge tusks tell us this African bush elephant. Wait, oh, I see what happened. The lines shift over. Do you see that? Mm-hmm. In the jungle, the other most feared animal is why. Okay, I just read it wrong. I'm sorry.
No, you didn't. You did it right. No, you didn't.
I don't know.
They have a double article there.
Oh, they do.
They just put the twice.
You get to read all the 80s ones from here on out, so I don't mess it up.
Well, I am a product of the 80s. 1984 checking in. Let's go.
Me too. Both of us. This is actually a script from 1984 too. This is like not just all the 80s. This was like specifically 1984. It's our little so this baby is our
script. Little baby
our script. Okay, so that's all of 1980. Now we head to 1990, and we'll just hit some of the highlights for this, like we've been trying to do, and then I've been failing miserably because I'm a box checker, friends. I want all the history.
There is something to be said about taking the most salient and best parts and sharing those and enjoying the other ones for yourself or in a long form video that you post on an awesome video platform.
I know. I'm gonna refrain.
Welcome to the show, kids.
So in the 1990s, again, is when we have Indiana Jones come into play here. So that's where we're going to start for the 1990s. Is the queue of the Indiana Jones actually is right next to the Jungle Cruise. So they incorporated the jokes about Indiana Jones into the Jungle Cruise, which is really fun. I just picked two of my favorites here. Over there is what we call the Indiana Jones Adventure and the Temple of the 4-Hour Forever line. 4-Hour Forever line. Another one. This one is topical to the time period, and if you know, you know. For this one, so there's people along the shore, and they say, "Pardon me, do you have any Grey Poupon?"
I want to know, did Grey Poupon pay for that sponsorship spot? Because that was such an iconic, like are we going to go on to Big Thunder and they're going to go, what do you want on your tombstone? And some dude's going to be like, cheese and pepperoni.
Your tombstone.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
I love that. I love that commercial.
It's bringing it back.
Like, it was like the two like gunfighters. Honestly, I mean, I don't really watch a lot of commercials anymore because like none of them are as entertaining. But I mean, now you can skip stuff and it's just not the same, you know. But yeah, so much iconic commercials.
They had some like bops back then, you know. Some of those jingles will just live forever in our minds, rent free. But for those of you who don't know what this joke is about, I'm gonna talk to the people who are maybe not old like me and Kirk. There was a commercial where you would go and like there's two cars, like one would roll up next to him and he would like roll down his window, physically roll down his window and say like, pardon me, do you have any Grey Poupon? And it's like a mustard, right? It's like
a fancy mustard.
It's a fancy mustard.
Well, the guy was in a limo and he pulled up to another limo and it was two dusty white-haired gentlemen who were like, can I get your mustard? And the guy's like, yeah, here's your mustard. But it like elevated mustard to a whole new level. So much so,
fancy
it landed in Wayne's World.
Yeah, that's right. Mm-hmm. Gosh, wow, it's bringing it back.
And apparently the Jungle Cruise.
And the Jungle Cruise, yeah.
Now, here's one of your goals is to ask a random guest. Ask somebody on the People Mover as we go by. For a Grey Poupon, because you'll never see them again.
Grey Poupon.
Or when we're on the Speedway.
Like that.
Pardon me.
Do you have any Grey Poupon? Yes.
Grey Poupon.
Yeah, aim for people that are like our age or older, because otherwise you might not get it. What?
I like. Hang on, time out. I have to do this because it's too good. Do you remember the amazing court case trial of cookies? It was. They were like, sir, you were. This is the commercial. This is the setup of the commercial. You're in a courtroom. Here's the lawyer asking the man on the stand, judges to the right of him, sir, were you eating cookies at 8:00 on Tuesday? You know, whatever date. No, I was not. I was having fruit and cake. And it was like, a cookie is just a cookie, but a Newton, Big Newtons, is fruit and cake. And it was like, he was exonerated from murder. No, I don't know what he was actually for, but it was, I remember it was.
I remember that.
It was straight up like a trial. And the dude got off because he was eating fruit and cake. That was not a cookie. A cookie is just a cookie. And Newton is fruit and cake. What were they doing? It's what a ridiculous time to be alive in the
80s. So, okay, here's what I think we should do. Because I'm looking at the time. I'm doing your thing now. And I'm looking at the time. And I know how much of this we have left.
Yes.
Oh, I know how much time we have left of this. Why don't we finish this section before the African Veldt? Because we're almost done. We're in the 90s and we got this. And then maybe we save from the African Veldt through the rest of it, or as far as we get for our next episode, because I'll be in Disney World then, but I can take a time out and do Distory there.
Okay.
What do you think?
Yeah, that'd be great.
For you?
Yeah.
Then that way that saves me prep time too, because I already have it.
Because it's already done. It's already there. It's already this awesome thing. We don't have to rush
through it because there's some really great stuff as the rest of the ride progresses.
I'm with you. So, well, excellent. Okay, so we still have some. We're still in the 90s.
Still in the 90s. So
90s.
We're in the 90s because we got the Indiana Jones ride. And then they could say, over there is the Temple of the Forbidden Eye. You can see all of the archaeologists in line, cleverly disguised as tourists. Well, I can't talk. Cleverly disguised as tourists. So they just start talking about, and now they do some more references to the actual temple too, which, by the way, I don't know how I missed this, but the eyes of Mara is like a male god. And I always thought it was a female forever. So something new. I gotta figure out that. Anyway, that was on a little side. Do you have any in this section you want to share?
No, because I don't even know what would be funny or pertinent, aka my Disney World is showing.
Well, then so onto the Cambodian ruin / the ancient shrine is what they start calling it at this point. How many of you think that's a big spider? How many of you think he's bigger than the one crawling up the man's leg? And so they do that joke again, like they did before. These ones are like not that funny. Some of them.
I don't know. I like this one when you're in the tunnel. Oh no, not again! And you turn off the lights and shut the motor down. Like
but there's
that's
no
good.
Tunnel.
What?
There's no tunnel. No, it's just ruins, outdoor ruins. There's like a arch.
So that only works
at night.
At night.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then they just talk about the elephant god Ganesha, who guards the entrance. They do have this one. On our left, Ganesha, the elephant god, holding his nose, and on our right, Wiki Wiki, his brass monkey sidekick. Oh! Okay. That's funny. Do you get that one?
No.
I feel like it's got to be a reference to Beastie Boys. It has to be, right?
I
Brass
don't.
monkey.
Yeah, but
that funky monkey.
Yeah, you mix it in the cup and say, "Yo, baby, what's up?"
Wiki, Wiki, get it?
I don't like Wiki. Like, yeah, you think it's like he's scratching. He's mixing. Oh, God.
I just got the 90s were a great time.
I mean, sure, I'll go with it. I just like hearing you do your DJ impression. Wiki.
We'll start singing Beastie Boys on our Distory episode.
I would love for you to not sleep till Brooklyn. Please.
Oh man, that was a jam.
That was a jam.
We have a lot of asides tonight, but the only reason I know the Beastie Boys so well is because I went on a car trip where we drove from San Francisco to Santa Rosa to meet my grandparents at some like Rose Festival back in the day. And we turn on and we say, "No, sleep till Santa Rosa." So we listen to the whole soundtrack.
That, honestly, that Rose Festival sounds really boring, but I bet it grows on you.
Oh, actually makes me sad because my grandparents are gone now, but it was the Beastie Boys memories were fun. And that's how I know Beastie Boys. So anyway, on to the Bengal tiger. When this is where now the jokes really start to get funny for the tiger. So they say a Bengal tiger can leap 20 feet. Fortunately, we're 10 feet away, and he would go over us and land in the bushes on the other side.
That's good. I like that one.
I know. I love that one. And then the Bengal tiger can jump over 10,000 feet once. Look at that. It's a large Bengal tiger. Now, Bengal tigers are known to leap over 5,000 feet in order to catch their prey. That is when you throw them out of an airplane.
They have another airplane one. They can jump up to 35,000 feet out of an airplane, that is.
Mm-hmm. It's all like distance humor for the Bengal tiger.
That one, I don't know if they use this one still today, but that like jump 20 feet and will land on the other side is very funny.
Yeah, it is. And they still use that one. Yeah, it's one.
That's a good one.
I think I heard it this last time I was on it. And then the cobras, they have the same joke where they go out for a bite every few minutes. We still see that one. And then the same one where it's like, there used to be 4, and now there's 3. Where did that one go? That one's still there. But then they have another one. It says, and here we have 3 cobras sticking out their tongues at us with no regard to our feelings.
Nope. They don't care.
Feelings. It's the 90s. We can start talking about feelings. That's when feelings became cool.
Everyone gets a trophy.
Everybody's talking about me singing Beastie Boys over here.
Yeah, I'm sure they would love to hear you do that.
That's about as much as you might ever get. Unless you... Yeah, no. So then we have the elephant bathing pool. And this one's funny because it's like a political joke, which I don't hear them very often in the Jungle Cruise. But this says, look here, it's the Republican National Convention. You can take pictures because they all have their trunks on. And if you look over there under the waterfall, it's Bob Dole. Oh, by the way, if you want to see the Democrats, they're back at the Hunchback of Notre Dame Festival of Fools.
Could you imagine if they tried to do that now? That would be like brutal.
it was a risk.
Because that's a pick a side.
They kind of like insulted everybody there. It was so I imagine the skippers could probably pick their own side there, and then it could get really ugly. So maybe not. Oh, and then this one. See that elephant right there? That's the richest elephant in the whole jungle. Yeah, it's Donald Trunk. Donald Trunk.
Donald Trunk.
Butchered that.
I like, you get an iteration of this, but it's, you'll notice an alligator playing with an elephant. That's not a sight you'll see every day, but I will. Over and over and over and over.
Yeah. They use that one several times.
Yeah, I like when they use jokes like that, like where they're stuck, like they can't, like there's some really, really good ones for the very, very end that they do now.
It's true.
Mm-hmm.
We have the squirting elephant up next, and a lot of it is very similar. They're kind of playing with like, oh, everybody get down, get down, get down. And then this one, he actually says, I guess he didn't have enough time to reload. Well, or I guess he didn't have enough trunk space.
It could use a better setup line. I like the trunk space line, but it needs something better.
Yeah. And a lot of them they talk about clever hiding behind a little child.
Ridiculous.
Do you want to read that one?
No, they're all ridiculous. Like, I don't want, no, I don't want to read them. They're not good. It's just,
they're not good. No,
they're not. It's like just hiding behind kids is not funny to me. So, you know?
Yeah. This one says like, you guys didn't move. You must have been frozen with fear. And I'm like,
yeah, no, we're not.
That's not funny. This is dumb.
Yeah.
that skipper would get an eye roll from me for that one. Be like, really?
Yeah.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Now the safari outpost with the, Jeep that's flipped over. Folks, this is what happens when you leave your kids at home alone. Another one is earlier. These guys were having a tough time starting that Jeep, but I can see that they finally got it to turn over. So 1990s is when we get it, the turnover joke to come. And one of them is trying to have a mind-blowing experience. If he's not too careful, he'll have a real splitting headache. I feel like mind-blowing is very like 90s lingo.
Yeah, mind-blowing.
That was mind-blowing, man.
It was.
Then over to the plant section. You got to read the one I highlighted. That one's kind of your joke.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is like the first iteration of this. I'd like to point out some of the plant life here on the Jungle Cruise. There's hibiscus, lobiscus, and that little one barking is a doggy biscus. Say, there's an Anheuser bush. It looks ready to bud. I didn't get a chance to read that one. I like that one. There's an Anheuser bush. Oh, gosh. I love that. I'm stealing that one, by the way. When we're on the Jungle Cruise, somebody will be like, if you're not a Distorian, you wouldn't know. You'd think I'm the most original person. I'm not. I'm stealing it right now. Oh, this is Anheuser bush.
This 1990s is also when we see this joke come in for the first time that you guys might be familiar with. It says, see that bamboo over there? It grows to be 6 stories tall, but people say it can grow to 7 stories. But that's a whole other story. So that one's pretty common. Do you guys have that one in Disney World, or is that just Disneyland?
No, we don't.
Oh, man. I thought you guys had that. Then we go to the gorilla and the crocodile. We get that knuckle sandwich joke. That's still there in the 90s. That one with they kept it around with the camp's food going downstream. That's still there. I don't know how that one made the cut. They must deliver that in such a way that it's really funny, because I'm like, I don't get it. And then they do. Look, there's something you don't see every day, but I do every day, every 15 minutes. So another iteration of the again.
Can we just point out something? There's many lines that have become part of the script that are not funny, that get delivered unfunnily.
Yeah.
It's just like said and moved on, or it's so rapid fire that the delivery is off. Like, I feel like that happens to a lot of jokes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so true. Delivery really does sell a lot of these, like some of them I'm just not doing justice because I'm reading them rather than like acting it out. But and then we're doing Schweitzer Falls. The approach to Schweitzer Falls, they talk about named after the famous Dr. Albert Falls. That is there. This one I don't think we've seen before, at least not in this iteration. It says, lean in the middle, lean in the middle. If you lean in the middle, we'll all sink evenly.
I like that. That's good.
Oh, and then this one, which is fun. Say what you will about women drivers, but I've never been good at making this turn. Hang on.
Dude, coming to a controversial TikTok near you, you will get the comment section mind blown.
Yeah. I'd have to pull all the ones about women in here and just kind of do it
If you
side
just
by
did,
side.
and you said, do you remember that time that the Jungle Cruise wasn't that kind towards you? And you just slam it. And then everyone would be like, I remember this. And you're like,
No.
millions of followers just raking in money.
No, it'd be more like lots and lots of men coming in to say, well, it's true.
Well, that was my impression earlier was, well, that was all the, you didn't realize that was, I wish there was a subtitle or a caption that said all the men in your comments. But then, you know, and,
Yeah.
oh, I like Jackie wrote, bring on the haters, which, you know, you got to be very Emperor Palpatine, like, you know, just like bring it in and you get stronger and more powerful.
I got to do it on a week when I can actually like clap back comments because
When I can clap back. When
I'm traveling, I don't have time, and then I can't defend myself.
Yeah, I can't clap, so it ain't gonna happen.
I was gonna say something about the like. No, I'm done. Okay.
You were done when you said clap back.
Oh no. I'm gonna get canceled.
It's not canceling. It's very un-1950s of you. So I appreciate when you sometimes are modern.
I do. My moments.
Oh
I'm
my
on
gosh,
TikTok.
it's so good.
Okay, so the Nile River, we're still in the 1990s. They talk about still winding across more than 4,000 miles. That's still in there. But then this one says, we've now turned down the Nile River, the longest river in all of Anaheim. That's right, a whole 200 feet. And then, and if you don't believe that, you must be in denial. So that one would be after like that. That's where we start to see that.
Yeah, that denial joke.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've seen many iterations of that too. So I'm curious. We'll see in the future what happens and if they have it or if they don't.
Yeah. So now we're up to the elephants in the 1990s. On the left, we have an African bull elephant. And for those of you with short-term memory problems, on the right, we have an African bull elephant.
It's really good.
So this is the origins of your joke that you have been telling this whole series.
But that's
here
not
in the 90s.
That's not.
It's
yeah,
where
right.
it came from.
We're getting close. We're getting really close.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Another one says, on the left bank, here's a huge bull elephant. The large sloping forehead and enormous ears mark the African bull, the second most feared animal in the jungle. On the other, the most feared animal in the jungle, his wife, or his mother-in-law. So this is where we said instead of just wife, we also see mother-in-law get tossed into the mix. So let's just throw all the women in there. Why not?
I like this one because it required, because the lights could turn, right? Like on the front of the boats. This is at night. Look, there's Dumbo, the fastest elephant in the jungle. Watch. And then you light the first elephant, then shut it, and then go to the right. And then as soon as you illuminate the one on the right, you go. Pretty amazing, huh? I love that. That's a clever use of a gag, but within the actual boat structure itself. I think that's smart. That's a smart joke.
Yeah, and I love the ones where they do the timing just right for the elephants, where they say, like, it's in here. It says speak. The elephant makes a little trumpet. You can do louder than that. And then he makes a second louder trumpet. okay, we'd like to do some pictures. Stand perfectly still. The elephant stands still.
Yeah, that's fun.
But the
Really
ones
tough
where
to
they get the
time it, though.
timing, yeah, the timing just right on those like trumpets for the elephants. Those ones, I always like those ones. I appreciate that they know it well enough to do that joke, because you can get that totally wrong if you get the timing off on that.
Yeah, you have to be right on.
And then there's one that's look here. That's at night. Oh, you already did that one. Sorry.
Yeah. No, it's
I
okay.
was I wasn't paying attention.
Are you ready to go to current day?
Let's do it.
Do 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 do.
Forward ho.
Why
Okay.
don't you do the Indiana Jones stuff, because I don't know. Wait, where am I at? Hang on.
Indiana Jones. We're in Purple
Yeah.
Land.
Yep. I'm there. Go ahead. Have at it.
Across the way, the mysterious temple, the Forbidden Eye, where the famous archaeologist Indiana Jones is searching for one of the world's greatest treasures. He's wasting his time, though. I'm clearly right here.
Oh, that's cute. I like that one.
As you can see, this dig has attracted the world's most eminent archaeologists, historians, explorers, and journalists. And aren't they clever, disguising themselves as simple tourists? Yeah. The ruins in the Cambodian temple, there's a couple for this one, but this one says, we are now approaching an ancient Cambodian shrine. It was built by ancient Cambodian Shriners, which I think is kind of lame, but it's there.
It is. It's lame because not a lot of people know the Shriners.
It's a little dated. And then the Bengal tiger, this one is very similar to the other ones, like don't make any sudden moves. That's the Bengal tiger on the left. The Bengal tiger has been known to leap over 20 feet in one jump, but don't worry, we're only 15 feet away. He'll jump right over us. So they have used iterations of that since the 90s, looks like. Yeah. And then the cobras, they still have the joke where it's like there was 4 and then there's 3, and where did that one go?
I like the one, if you find a snake in the back, scream and throw him back. No souvenirs here. Scream and throw him back.
You wouldn't be touching that. You would be like, no. You'd be...
I would be up on the seat cushions and diving.
Crocodiles, we've got, look, there's old Smiley, the oldest resident of the river. Mainly, he's just sort of lies around. That handout joke is coming through. And then
Which I'll give you a couple of ours, right? Because I'll use our elephants that are right before Schweitzer, because that's the closest iteration. We do a cookie joke where it's like, here's our 2 crocodiles, Smiley and Ginger. But be careful, Ginger snaps. She's one tough cookie. I'm sorry if that's a crummy joke. That's what they'll say. Or they'll go, Smiley and Ginger just got married. And if you're looking to get them a gift on their registry, I know they asked for a crock pot.
It's cute.
Yeah, I like that one.
I like that one. I didn't really find a lot for the statue of Ganesha. Oh, sorry. I'm losing my ears. Just because I couldn't find it. Like I said, this one that's a current day one is the only one I couldn't find like an official script for, that I'm kind of pulling from clips that I had. So then the elephant bathing pool. Look at all the elephants on the river today. This comes as a complete surprise to me because I had no idea these guys were going to be here. And then if you want to take pictures, go right ahead. They all have their trunks on. I hear that one almost every time I'm on the Jungle Cruise. I hear the trunks one.
Guaranteed. On ours too.
Solid. Bertha here has been in the shower way too long. She's covered in wrinkles. That's why I don't shower. I don't want to turn into an elephant.
I like that. That's funny. We have one on the right hand side. There's 2 little baby elephants behind a elephant mama that is looking away, and it's, oh look, 2 little babies bathing under a full moon. And that's the
I remember that one. That's
yeah.
cute. If we have the elephant that squirts water, I say, oh no, they're on the right. That big elephant's coming up and looks like he's aiming for us. Oh no, he's coming up again. You folks in the back, get down. And the elephant then doesn't squirt. He says, well, I guess he didn't have time to reload. So that's again pulled forward from that other one.
And ours is, I know what you're thinking. That's water out of their nose, but it's not.
Yeah, they do that one at the end too. That one's in the
Oh, do you have like another
gift shop?
You have another squirting elephant later on?
Oh yeah, like the one that could be little red, like the at the end of the ride, with Trader Sam's gift shop. They have the little elephant there. They use that joke a lot in that spot because it sprays you.
Really? Ours doesn't spray.
So you have to come to Disneyland, friend.
We have a non-spraying elephant.
Hey, they use that joke all the time at the end. Then the safari camp, the last time I passed through, these gorillas were having a problem getting that Jeep to start. Looks like they finally got it to turn over. So, or they left the car lights on. Now they won't be able to turn it over. So they kind of just, I've heard like many variations of the turn over one. I'm always a little happy when I don't hear that joke in there because I'm like, they have something new. I've heard
yes, usually it'll be, it looks like they finally got it to turn over. They probably used a monkey wrench.
Monkey wrench, yeah.
Or called triple ape.
Triple ape. I haven't heard that one.
Yeah.
That's fun. Then the plants, they stick with the one that says they can grow to be 6 stories tall. I think it's 7 stories tall, but that's a whole nother story. That one's in there.
Yeah, we don't have that at all. I love that one.
You don't have that one?
Mm-mm.
And then the Dr. Albert Falls joke is the same as it has been for Schweitzer Falls. And then with the Nile River, we've just entered the Nile River of Africa. If you don't believe me, you're probably in denial. So we see a kind of more concrete set here in our current script.
Ours changes. They never say denial anymore. They usually will say, they don't even say Africa. They'll say Orlando, or they'll just say anything else that's not denial or Africa.
Yeah. I think because people started catching on to it and saying,
yeah, because they'll be like, you're probably in, and there's like a pause to wait for guests to do like a response, and then they always will respond differently after the guests have a chance to say denial.
We're now on the Nile River, longest river in the world. It goes on for 4,000 miles, but then this part's different. It says, but don't worry, I have a shortcut.
Okay.
Which I'm like, I don't know if that's funny, but it's there.
Well, ours, they dropped the 4,000 miles. It goes, now we're on the Nile River, the longest river in the world. It goes on for Niles and Niles and Niles and Niles.
Yeah, I've heard that one a lot.
And then that's where they end. And if you don't believe me, you're probably in
Orlando. I like denial.
Yeah, I like denial too. I think it's funny.
That gets a good laugh from the kids too. It's cute. Onto the elephants on the banks.
Yep.
On the left bank, the enormous ears and huge chest tell us he's an African elephant, the world's largest land animal. And for those of you with short memories, there on the right bank, enormous ears and huge chest tell us that's an African elephant, the world's largest land animal. So same joke as before. But then you got to tell this next one because
on your left is the African bull elephant. Did you know that these elephants have the best memory of any other animal? I wish I had a memory like that. On our right is an African bull elephant. Did you know that these elephants have the best memory of any other animal? I wish I had a memory like that. Now, for ours, we'll get, they have the best memory of any other animal in the jungle. They'll mention jungle specifically. And then I wish I had a memory like that. And sometimes there'll be a tag on, it'll help a lot in this job. Which I don't think really is necessary. No. I think just I wish I had a memory like that.
Yeah.
Sufficient.
Well, that is stopping before the African belt.
Which holds up the African pants.
Are they new pants?
They are. You know what's sad is like you have to know that it's spelled that way.
I know.
You know. Otherwise it doesn't really help.
It's more of a visual joke.
Yeah, there's so many puns. So, you know, I write a lot of punny humor and say a lot of punny humor, and I like puns that you don't need to read better. But there are plenty where if you're like, for example, that one, you have to know that new is spelled GNU and means wildebeest, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, there's some.
This has been ridiculous. I agree. It's been a good episode, though.
Do you have any final thoughts there, Kirk?
This was a much needed laugh. So it was great.
Oh, good. Yeah, I'm looking forward to next week, too, because there's some really fun jokes in the second part of the script that we didn't get to yet. So
yeah, I just like seeing the evolution of the jokes and the humor and from where it starts to where it ends. And today, it makes me give hope that the script can get evolved further.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. 100%. It's like watching the creative process in action. So it's really fun. Have a great weekend.